Well, to find out how these developments are affecting South Korea's economy, let's bring in Sung Won Sohn. He's a professor of economics at California State University, Channel Islands. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, let's start with a look at President Park's political problems. How are they impacting the economy?
It is impacting adversely. When it rains, it pours. Korea has obviously the North Korean problem. President-elect Trump's trade policies that is creating a lot of uncertainties, and now this political uncertainty related to President Park that is hurting the economy. As a matter of fact, consumer confidence in October really plunged. So as a result, clearly in the short run, it is having a very significant impact.
Now let's take a listen to President Park's decision to step down, and then we'll explore how she plans to transition. Let's take a listen.
I will leave everything about my future up to the parliament, including shortening of my term. I will step down from my position according to the law, once a way is formed to pass on the administration in a stable manner. That will also minimize political unrest and vacuum.
So essentially leaving the process in the hands of Parliament. So what does that mean in terms of certainty for an already faltering economy?
Well, clearly in the short run, it will damage economic growth. However, if you look at the latest OECD economic forecast, they are saying that this will be a short-term problem. In 2017 and 18, economic growth will rebound to about 3%. In 2015, the economy grew about 2.6%, and this year it could be around 2.5%. And then again, assuming that political crisis they are resolved, hopefully the economy will rebound somewhat in 2017 and 18.
So given that optimism, let's take a look at some of the structural issues within South Korea's economy. What are the real standouts for you?
Like any other developed economy, Korea has a long-term problem, such as demographics, not having enough babies. That's one of the problems. The other problem is, of course, Korea's dependence on exports. And the global economy is not growing all that rapidly. And with President-elect's pronouncements about the trade, this is another very important issue for Korea, which is, again, as I said, trade dependent. And the other reason, of course, is Korea's dependence on manufacturing. Over the last 30 to 40 years, Korean economy has done very well based on manufacturing, including shipbuilding and et cetera. But of course, in the future, those are going to change, and Korea's competitiveness that has been diminishing. As a result, they've got to do something else to support economic growth in the future.
Now, as we look ahead, South Korea's central bank says the country's recovery is still on track, but that Samsung's smartphone crisis could potentially undermine that. What's your take on that?
Well, Samsung is obviously very big in the Korean economy, accounting for about 20% of the GDP. And so what happens to Samsung, that's very important. They have, of course, technical as well as legal issues right now. But if you look at Samsung, they ran into problems in the past, and they've been able to get over it and have done very well. So I don't think Samsung will suffer a great deal. My confidence is that Samsung will come back and do better in the future. And again, earlier, someone talked about the changing the legal structure or the governance structure of the Samsung. And one thing that we have to realize is that, as I teach in my business school students, it's not just the shareholders, but you really have to worry about so-called the stakeholders, which includes not only the shareholders,
right,
but also the country as well as employees. And then so when you look at a company like a Samsung, it has a very different governance structure, not the kind of a U.S. or Western-style governance structure.
Right.
So I think we have to understand that things are operated differently.
So with that being said, Samsung is still saying that it's considering splitting the company to increase dividends, but at this point it's, quote, absolutely neutral about whether to proceed. So given the possible implications for the company, investors, and the broader economy, what do you think some of the potential fallout could be?
Well, if there's a fallout, obviously that would be negative economic growth for the Korean economy, and then there could be some loss of jobs. But as I mentioned, this is not the first time Samsung has gone through difficulties. It has in the past, and they've been able to come back pretty well. The company is pretty resilient, so my expectation is that the company will come back and then do better in the future.
We'll certainly see if that optimism translates. Thank you so much, Sung Won Sohn, economics professor at California State University, Channel Islands.